Ben Kampmann. He is talking about activism organizing on Matrix. Hello, Ben!
First, two things about me. I'm Ben. I'm the co-founder and tech lead of Actor, formerly known also in this space maybe as Effectio, because I presented what we were working on back then already a year ago. I was the Rust developer for new vector element and the lead developer for the Matrix Rust SDK until earlier this year. And I've been doing like decentralization in Rust since about 2015. I've been working in the space since 2011. I've been doing some wild decentralization stuff. Maybe you heard of like blockchains is one of them. Only once. But I've also been co-hosting the Rust Fest and Open Tech School and other non-profit learning opportunities, as well as I've been a political organizer for a political party here in Germany, as well as for local grassroots initiatives, and that becomes important later. If you want to know more about me, you can find me at gnuunicorn.org. There's also a way for you to contact me. So we use the term organizing, and I want to take a few moments to talk about what we mean when we say organizing. Because we don't just mean like a spreadsheet or something. We talk about organizing in the socioeconomic political context, how they talk about this. That means that people come together to usually work towards a specific goal or aim. That can be a neighborhood coming together to create a neighborhood street festival or something like that. It's generally in a social context. So we're talking specifically for the non-professional side. You're not getting paid to do that. You're doing that voluntarily, you join that group voluntarily, or because of social pressure, but generally, let's say it's voluntarily. And that takes place outside of work, where you usually have a lot of other things you also have to take care of, like groceries. That means it's inherently non-hierarchical in the sense that no one has the power over you to make you do things, right? It's peer-to-peer. There's social pressure to some degree, but you could always say no and walk away, and there's no harm done. You're not going to get forced to do stuff. Which also means you have no bosses, but also no project managers, no one who's doing all of that organizing stuff around you to actually make things possible for that to work. And generally, this is how most things in civil society, and specifically grassroots activism, are structured. They come together, people come together, say like, hey, we need to do something about this. They organize protests, and that is generally this sort of thing. So where and how does that happen today? If you are a user of one of the famous messaging apps, it's WhatsApp. Most of the time it's WhatsApp. You might have your family chat as one of these examples, but also like you have a lot of activism or social good causes happening over WhatsApp, where you have a group of people who somewhat share some kind of, I'm sharing one screenshot here of one of the things that then usually goes wrong, and that is like in WhatsApp, you know, like you don't have a history. People join because you're like, hey, they have a car, they can help us. They join in, and it's like, I have no idea what the context is. I don't know. Please, someone catch me up. And there is no project manager. There is no one onboarding you in these kind of scenarios, because that is extra work that nobody wants to do. So it usually becomes a problem for these kind of structures. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones and you don't use WhatsApp, but Telegram. I'm saying lucky here because the tooling is slightly better. You have at least this differentiation between like channels, where it's like a lot of information boosting out into one direction, and you have these more community chat style things. That is very nice. But there you have a similar problem. Like this is my screenshot for a bunch of these groups right now. And you see these counters, right? Like Klimakrise 534. I'm not ever going to read that, right? And that means I'm missing information. I'm not able to catch up. And generally, like as soon as you want to do something that requires a little more structure than just a textual stream that can just go on, like just think of the bake sale that you're supposed to organize for I don't know, some event, and like someone said, oh yeah, they're going to do a chocolate cake, but then 3 messages later, they're like, oh, I can't do a chocolate cake because I don't have chocolate, I'm going to do something else. Someone else joins later and it's like, I can do a chocolate cake. You lose track of what's happening, and then you end up with 3 chocolate cakes. That's still not the worst of all scenarios. I think 3 chocolate cakes is great, but you see what I'm getting at. And so usually, what do we do when we need more structures? we set up an Excel sheet, a Trello board, an Asana, a Weekend board, GitHub or Jira project if you're really masochist. Who has done that for like trying to get a group a little more organized like that already? Yeah, and so why do you think it failed? I can tell for like, if you meet anyone who tried to do that, it's going to fail. There's like maybe all over Berlin, a single-digit cases of that has actually worked, but it generally doesn't work. And the reason for that is because of a lot of things that I said earlier above, that is, how is this group actually organizing and where are these tools? These tools are used in a professional context. Most of the time they have amazing charts and flow diagrams and waterfall and like Gantt charts that tell you how long it's going to take. That doesn't matter for my bake sale. This is all annoying bullshit that I don't need for my bake sale. And at the end of the day, the ones using and paying for these apps, for these applications, are the companies, and they have other interests than that the people who use them really want to use them, because in doubt they're paying them to use them. And that makes them inherently different from what you need in the other context. This is why so many are stuck with WhatsApp and Telegram and similar systems, because it's at least something they know how to use. And that's exactly what we're building or trying to build at Actor. We're trying to build what we call casual organizing, so all of that organizing that happens on the side where you don't have a managed structure around you. And we're building that on Matrix. And now I want to show you what that looks like. Does it work? Oh yeah, perfect. Okay. So on the left you see that doesn't quite work, but we're gonna fix it. So this is the mobile emulator, and that's our desktop version. So what you see immediately here is we have this idea of having a social stream-like newsfeed that you can directly see that one most important thing from my organization. So if you are in one of the rooms that has like 180 messages, but one of them is really important because it's, hey, come to that protest on Saturday, you're going to miss that message because you see that 180, you're not opening this. And that's a way for the organization to say, hey, aside from chat and all of that stuff that's going on, here's a low volume, high signal place where that is the most important information. The idea is that you can do that on your way to work Monday morning. You can flip through the most important things of all of the groups that you're working with. We've recently also looked a lot into how do we organize all of that in spaces. You should know about spaces if you know about Matrix, which is a fairly new but very important way of hierarchically structuring objects. So we looked a lot at like how we use that, and knowing from how many of these organizations, even grassroots organizations, tend up to make work possible is that they specialize into smaller groups on one side. For example, you have a group and then they do social media, and then that becomes its own group. And most people that don't do social media, they don't care. And so we've looked a lot at how can we make that possible, how can we make that easily accessible, and you can just drill down into whatever depth you want. But if you're only in one depth level, you can easily see your groups, the groups that you're in, and just directly switch there. The most interesting thing, though, I'm going to go to this one, is that we also offer, so this is the same on the mobile version, just going to go into pins. So next to the regular chat that you would expect, we have a few alive objects in a room. So these are things that you can interact with as a user, as a member of that space. For example, pins. A very simple place where you can just see all of that fridge or pin wall-like information. Like, the dog needs medication, but it's like once every 3 months. What is it again? Well, you can just go into the pin, check it or not. Why is it not opening? Oh, wait. And see when is it due, what is that single information. It can be about like where's the car located, where's the garage for, or what is the pin of the garage again. Things that are important in a specific context, but you rarely need all the time. So it's a very simple and easy way to just manage this kind of stuff. The other thing that is very important, especially for social organizing, is events. So this allows you to schedule events, a very simplified calendar, if you will, saying, hey, this is an event that's happening, and you have an easy way of saying, oh yeah, I want to join that. The idea, again, is that that probably already exists in like the Telegram group or whatever, but it's hidden somewhere in between all of these other messages. So it's really hard to find for people who are more casually coming in and out. And the idea is that if you look at the news and you want to drill in deeper down, you can easily do that by doing exactly that. And another thing I want to show you, but don't tell Emil that I show you, because this is a labs feature at the moment, and that's like to-do lists, very simplified to-do lists. Nope, I need the to-do list, where you can just add things. You can say, oh yeah, I bought the milk, and of course, yay, network worked. It updates immediately. No, we still need honey. And I can say, we have prepared that, and is it updating? No, it's not. Give the presentation. It's a demo. It always happens at demos, right? All right, let me get back to the different screens. Almost. Now we're there. Okay, cool. So this is where we're at. We have chat, obviously. I didn't show you, but you can trust me that we do. It has end-to-end encrypted chat like WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal. It's the metrics default, right? But aside from that, we have this new feature, which is called updates, that allows you to have a really quick and easy scroll through for especially larger groups where you have a lot more people that are less strongly connected. We have the pins that allow you to easily pin information that makes it easy to look up, that are important. Very often that is used for, I don't know, the onboarding guide or the checklist for protesters, that kind of stuff. And we have the calendar events all implemented, and all of that in just one app. So how is that different from WhatsApp or Signal or Weekend or any of the other types of boards? Well, you already saw it's meant generally as a quick and easy way to catch up. Our ideal scenario is that aside from the absolute pro users, most people do not use that app that often. Right? This is counterintuitive to almost all other metrics of all companies out there, where like eyeballs on the app is the most important thing because they sell you advertising. If we can get you to do the thing as quick as possible, that's better for us. That's what we want. That requires a clean and fresh and modern UI. And in particular, an aspect of thinking of the classic organizing tools, to-do lists and that kind of stuff, in the non-project manager context. What if I don't have a project manager that in doubt will manage all of these great things and connect all of these issues and move all of these things around? We don't want that. We cut them down to the bare minimum wherever we can. I mentioned already before the idea that you have something in chat and maybe that then floats out of the chat into like less noisy spaces so that it makes it easier for people to move back in is highly important way of organizing information in general. The tools generally are the non-business suite tools. The casual organizing generally assumes that all of the stuff we have in the professional context that is really great in the professional context, we definitely want the same for the casual context. But it has this distinct difference that there's no one being paid to do all of the extra load and work around managing that thing. So we want to reduce that as much as we can. Then another thing that makes it different to most of the apps is end-to-end encrypted. That is not yet default on for the tools because like a fully encrypted history is a complicated thing because we need the history of all of the objects to calculate their latest state. So currently spaces when you create them are not end-to-end encrypted. You can switch that on, but it's not on by default. And it's decentralized, obviously, because we're using Matrix. And that is simply all our backend. So you saw the app, but behind that, that's the default synapse. We switched on one MSC, but that is for the purpose field for spaces to figure out which kind of spaces are our type of spaces and which are regular spaces. But that doesn't actually do anything on the server. Yeah, and you can try it yourself. That is something we couldn't say last time when I was here. But it's available in the iOS App Store everywhere but France, and in the Google Play Store for Android. If you want to know the France story, you can ask me about it. You can find the nightly releases as well, especially for all of the desktop versions at docsactor.global. If you don't have a Matrix account yet, which I assume is not the case here, but you might want to invite other people to use it, you can register if from within the app. It's going to ask you for a token, and that would be Matrix Summit with an uppercase MNS23. That is available until the end of the year. Also for the stream, if you want to use it, you can do that. Then you're using our server, so you get an actor.global address. And we would like to for you to try it out and give us feedback. It's a preview. Are there bugs? Yes. There's an entire GitHub filled with bugs. But especially if you find things that aren't working for you or that are new to you, please let us know. You can either do that on GitHub or you can join the Matrix channels at Foyer or Tech if you want to talk more tech stuff. The tech channel is literally the one that the entire tech team is using for day-to-day operational stuff as well. So we're discussing all of the technical details if you want to know what we're actually doing. And I am very good on time. That's very good. So I want to say thank you. I'm going to give you the things again. Oh, yeah, we're also hiring. So if you want to do Flutter and Rust development on Matrix stuff, you can go to actor.global. There's the job opportunities on the top. You can see what we're currently doing. If you want to know more about Actor, you can find it. All of that there, including the GitHub Actor Global A3. And you can find me and more about me here. And I'm available for questions. Doing the mic management? Other questions? If there are no questions, I don't have to give you the mic. Okay, you have to pass it to the next person, I guess.
Are there any export features, like for example the calendar, might also be consumed by people on their regular calendar client? And I mean, I assume everything that you said will be somehow inside the Matrix universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, for example, the calendar would be one thing that I might want to have, or assume other people want to have in their regular calendar. And if you do it, how do you do it?
Right. So we don't have an export in the app right now. The idea is that if you have these app installs, we have access, especially on mobile phones, we have the access to your local calendars, right? So we can provide a technical calendar locally. Why don't we just give you an ICS or an iCal feed? Simply because we can't. If that is an enter-encrypted place that you have events in, on the server side, I can't decipher that, and that's on purpose, right? So we need to do that on the client side, and that is the goal. We're definitely not there yet. It is not yet tightly integrated in that. There's, especially around meeting management and event management, there's a bunch of ideas, like also showing, hey, on that event, you already have this in your calendar. So we can tightly integrate on the exact client level. That is the plan to do that, which unfortunately means if it's not specifically one that is provided by the system, so for desktop systems, especially for Linux, there's a plethora of potential ways. It's not yet clear how we might going to do that. One way is that we might offer a way to have, I don't know, a Thunderbird extension or something. But we haven't focused on that yet. We're trying to get an app out first, and then if there's demand for it, it's open source, like sort of open source. You can definitely contribute to it. Any other questions? Please pass it on.
Thank you. My question was, so you built this thing with Flutter?
Yes.
And you were using the Rust SDK, right?
Yes.
Did you had any performance hiccups or problems in that terms to manage end-to-end encryption inside your apps?
No. So for that end-to-end encryption stuff, we completely use the Rust SDK. We don't know about hiccups on that. There's the layer in between those two. We're not using UniFFI at the moment because there's no backend for Dart, so we can't port that to Dart. So we have our own self-made thing at the moment. We're currently looking into, or like working on building a Dart backend. That has performance implications, let's say, because of design issues made early on. We are never freeing any objects that we send over the Rust side. That is obviously bad. But so far, end-to-end encryption has not been an issue. That is all running on the Rust side. I am afraid, so we only support mobile and desktop at the moment. I am afraid of looking at the web version, because first off, we have to then put that into WASM, which also means our in-between layer is not going to work the same way. WASM is a lot less efficient in the way that Dart user said, and then Dart itself and Flutter itself on web is just not smooth, let's say. So we have so far put away the web client as a, yeah, we need to look at that for sure, but we might have to rebuild the entire UI. So that's why we're touching it.
Right. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Thanks. It seems like you have quite a lot of different custom event types and stuff like this.
Correct.
Have you looked into considered standardizing some of this? Are you publishing the specifications for them? Do you want people to be interoperable with your custom events, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have, you can find them all in our GitHub under native core source events. They are fairly much informed by existing standards, like the RFC 8984 for JMP, which is activity stream style events. To describe them, most of the existing decentralized systems, however, always think about a state machine at their end state, like ActivityPub or something tells you like there's this post and there's like these kind of things, not necessarily the entire stream of things. So like some of these things needed to change. They do exist. However, the events you can see there already are a lot more, have a lot more features than we currently have in the UI. And one of the things that's very important to us is that when we bring them into a specification process, that we can be sure they don't change again next half a year. Because once it's out there, it's going to be annoying to change. And we are much more driven by UI and actual users using it and try to inform that back than what the, let's say, general metric specification process usually does at the moment. I think a very good example of why we don't want to do that is how, the way that polls are now a standard, but like in the UI somewhere hidden in some way. And it's really not clear in some certain edge cases what is supposed to happen. We want to have a lot more clarity before we bring them up to a formal specification, but they're all there, and definitely, yeah, if you are interested in using any of them, building on them, they are pretty clean and easy to understand. Please use them. That's all. And give us feedback. That's the most important thing. Like if you have problems with that. So like one of the things that we have in there is to-do lists and other things. You can have priority, but also a color. You can set specific colors you like yourself. Like a lot of fancier to-do list specification systems like JMP and stuff like that, they have that kind of thing. So this is already in the events, but we have no UI. And we're not sure if we want to keep them because it might be also just too much for UI.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, wait until it's really uncomfortable. I think I did. Thank you very much.